It's imperative that the HSRP routers within a group are using the exact same version. We have version 1 and we have version 2. However, they're not compatible with each other. The HSRP version 1 speaking routers do not understand HSRP version 2 packets, and the HSRP version 2 speaking routers do not understand the HSRP version 1 packets. As a result, we have two forwarders within the group if one of them is using version 1 and one of them is using version 2 because they don't technically see each other. So they both become active for the exact same group. Now, how can we verify the versions that are enabled on an HSRP speaking router? We can use the show standby command. And when we look at the show standby output, it'll state version 2 if the router is running version 2. If it's not running version 2, then it won't say anything at all, and you can safely conclude that it is running version 1. But don't forget that the MAC address will be different as well between HSRP version 1 and HSRP version 2. Let's analyze this situation. Notice right here, it says duplicate address detected. 10.1.1.62 on VLAN 10. So right away we can see here that DSW1 is sensing that there is an issue. If we go to DSW2, DSW2 is sensing that there is an issue. Notice it's the same IP address, 10.1.1.62, but look at the MAC address. Look at the MAC address. We have 0000.0C07AC0A. That's the HSRP Group 10 MAC address. Version 1, pardon me. HSRP version 1 Group 10 MAC address. If we go over to DSW2, it's saying HSRP version 2 Group 10 MAC address. That's what's happening here. So we can see that DSW2 is receiving these from this MAC address, which means DSW1 is using HSRP version 2, and DSW1 is receiving these from DSW2, which means DSW2 is using HSRP version 1. Show standby. Right there, it says version 2. So DSW1 is using version 2 without a doubt. DSW2, show standby. It doesn't say anything at all. It doesn't say anything at all in this particular case. Therefore, it's version 1. So we have two active forwarders for the exact same group using two different MAC addresses. So which MAC is the client going to receive when it does an ARP for 10.1.1.62? Give me the MAC address of 10.1.1.62. All right. It can receive two responses now. So whichever one it receives last, it ends up in its ARP cache. It's going to use that one. If a failure happens, it might have a stale entry in its ARP cache. So connectivity will cease to exist while it has that stale entry in its ARP cache. But if the entry is still valid, then it's still going to have connectivity. So we're going to have sporadic connectivity for the clients because we are using two different versions here for HSRP, and we have two active forwarders. So let's clean this up. Let's make sure DSW2 is using version 2, configure terminal, interface VLAN 10, standby, version 2. Notice now it's going to the init state, and it should settle down in the standby state because there's already an active forwarder for this particular group, which happens to be DSW1, has the higher priority, and has preemption enabled. Also notice up here when we were looking at the output of show standby, it said active router is local, but standby router was unknown because it did not understand DSW1's hello packets, and vice versa. DSW1 was having the same problem as well. So we did settle down in the standby state. If we go back to DSW1, when you look at the output of show standby from before, you'll see that the active router is local, but the standby router was unknown. If we look at the same output now, we'll see that the standby router is now known, and it is DSW2. So version matters. It has to match, or you end up with two active forwarders for the group, which is not good. We don't want that.